Good morning and welcome to the Petitti Pro Garden Show. Thank you all for getting up early and being with me on this April 23rd, a nice, beautiful, sunny morning that we're having. And April has been, pretty good weather. We had a couple really cold days at the beginning of the month, but now we're having some nice weather, and we're all working on our gardens, be it our vegetable garden or our flower gardens or our landscape gardening. And so there's a lot to do at this time of the year. There's a lot to talk about. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and we're going to chat for 30 minutes and talk to you about your garden. And so there's been a lot of questions. A lot of things has happened this week at the Garden Center. This is Earth Week. We started celebrating Earth Week on Sunday, and yesterday was Earth Day. And so throughout the week, we've had different classes. On Tuesday evening, we had a class on organic gardening. We called it Organic Gardening 101. It was just going over all the basics. And then on Thursday night, we went into it a little bit more intense. And we also talked about why we organic garden. And that's because we want to eat organically. And so we talked a lot about healthy eating. And then on Friday, we did our class during the day at 10 a.m. With the kids and adults, but we based it a lot around our homeschooling group. And we talked about organic gardening, why, again, we want to eat organically. We did a little project, and we all started seeds in clear glass bowls so that they could watch the root system grow. And so we could relate to them and explain to them about a firm foundation. And just like in our Christian walk, having a firm foundation in what we believe and having that foundation in God's Word, that we can be a stronger Christian. And so I was able to relate that to them. A firm foundation and a strong root system makes for a stronger plant. So it was such a blessing to be able to have those classes this week and do so much with Earth Week. And Earth Week is sort of always going on at Petitti Garden Center, but it's something that everyone celebrates this week of April, and so we had a lot of fun with that, so that was great, and I wanted to thank everyone that came out to all of those classes and supported us and allowed us to share with them. We also had some wonderful things happen this week. On Thursday morning, I went out to do barn chores and found that our peeps were hatching. So we've had a hen sitting on eggs, and so we have peeps hatching, so that was always really neat. So if you would like to see some very, very young peeps, come on over to the Garden Center today, and we'll take you out and show you those peeps, and also the goats that we have that are still on a bottle, and enjoy the whole farm. So we invite everyone, anytime you come to visit, not only if you have kids, if you're an adult and you like the farm too, we invite you to go back and walk through the barnyard and see all the animals and everything that's going on. We will have our next farmers market on the first Saturday of May, which is May 7th. And so we always have it on the first and the third Saturday of each month. May's will be our last ones that we have at the Garden Center until November. So May 7th will be the next one, 9 to noon. And that's also Mother's Day weekend. So it's going to be a very, very busy market. So if you want to come out and get something special at the market, make sure that you're there early because traffic is always very busy at the Garden Center on Mother's Day weekend. And so I'm sure the vendors are going to be extra busy that day as well. So if you're looking for something special like some Swiss chard or kale or spinach, one of those wonderful things, you're going to want to make sure that you're at the market nice and early. And then, like I said, we will have one more on the 21st of May. All of the markets in May are always outside, so come prepared. Hopefully the weather will be good on May 7th. That's always a blessing for us to have good weather on Mother's Day weekend. And again on the 21st, and then your regular markets will all be starting up in June. And I think our area has a new market this year. Plain Township is going to be doing a market on Monday evenings, and that's starting, I think, late May. So we'll get you the details on that one, and that's going to be a new market. And real excited about having farmers markets, and new ones are always great to go check out on different evenings if you have that time. Well, like I said, there's a lot going on in our landscapes at this time of the year, and spring cleanups and sometimes it seems like we're doing our fall cleanup too. A lot of us didn't get around to cutting down those grasses in the fall. And so now they need cut down now. And there's been a couple questions. So my grasses, I didn't cut them down in the fall. I need to cut them down now. But here we are, toward the end of April, and I have new grass coming up. And what you need is to go ahead and sacrifice that new grass and cut it off. Anyhow, because cutting around it is going to be just about impossible and very, very time consuming. But also remember what I tell you about your grasses. You're not going to have that die out in the center if you burn your grasses off. So once you cut them down to about 15 inches, even 12 inches, if you can get down that low, you want to burn off all that old grass from last year. That's also going to make the splitting of those grasses easier if you need to split them this year. And this is the time you want to get that done this month. So you only have another week to get those grasses split and transplanted. Remember, you always want to do your transplanting in months with an R in them. So we're going to count that out for May, June, July, and August. We don't want to do any transplanting in those months unless you absolutely have to. And you should give me a call and I will give you tips on how to do it if you have to. But here in April, this is still a good time to get the transplanting done. So if your grasses do need split, this is when you want to do it. And it's going to make your life so much easier if you burn off the old grasses from previous years. Make sure you do have water there with you so you can douse it if it starts to get a little bigger than you had planned. Or an extra person is always a good idea also. But get those cut and split at this time of the year. And yes, definitely burn them off. The grass is going to look better also. Even if you don't need to split this year, if you burn it off, you're not going to have that big dead hole in the center like you always do, because the new grass will be able to come back up through there. So you want to make sure that you get that done. The next question that we had was about square foot gardening. Square foot gardening is very, very popular. It has been getting more popular, it seems like every year. But if you started your square foot gardening 3 or 4 years ago, and now you want to know what you need to add to it, of course, soil starts to decompose, the compost decomposes, everything's decomposing in there, and you notice that your soil level is down in your raised beds. And people are coming in and asking what to add to it. You want to add compost, and if you need additional topsoil, an additional amount of topsoil as well. Sometimes, very seldom, are you going to need to add additional vermiculite unless the soil balance wasn't exactly right at the beginning, and you need to add that vermiculite to keep the soil in there from getting too hard. But usually compost is enough for you to add. You can use the sweet peat. We got a new shipment of sweet peat in this past week. Also the Bull Country compost. Love both of the products, both very good. Bull Country compost we do also have in bulk. So if you need that Bull Country compost in a large amount, we do sell it by the cubic yard. It's going to be a little bit better deal for you if you can manage that. A lot of people like bags because they are easier to handle. But we have both of those, and that's what you're going to want to add to that square foot gardening. Now, you're also having a lot of questions about plants not looking exactly right. Dave came in this week and he had an evergreen that had little white spots all over it. It was a Scotch pine. Very known for this problem, but he had these little white dots, little specks all over it, and he was wondering what it was. Pines, Scotch pine and Mugo pine, definitely known for this. It's a scale, and it gets on the needles itself. You can treat it organically with neem oil. You're probably going to need 4 applications. In Dave's case, it wasn't over the entire plant yet. But what you want to do is spray. When you're spraying that first time, you want to spray in the entire plant. When you wait 7 to 10 days and spray again, you only need to hit the area that's infected. The third spray, we want you to hit the whole entire plant again. And the 4th spray, just the infected area. Scale is difficult to control. and sometimes it can take over the whole plant. So that's why you want to do the whole entire plant, a couple of those sprays, but you should be able to control it organically. If you are not an organic person, or you feel it has gotten out of hand and there's no edibles around it, you can use a systemic. Bonide has a nice tree shrub systemic insecticide that will work on it. You put it right around the drip line of the tree, or the plant if it's the mugo pine that has it, and it will take it up through the root system. Remember, it doesn't only just stay in that root system, it's going to spread out in an area around it too. So that's why you want to make sure that you don't have any edibles in that area. The next person that's having some issues on a plant, lady came in and she had Pachysandra with her, and it was very, very yellow. Not a nice, dark, rich color like you would think Pachysandra. And she was wondering what was wrong with it. She had fertilized it 2 weeks ago with Hollytone, and it hadn't greened up yet. Okay. It didn't get yellow in 2 weeks' time, so it's not going to green back up in 2 weeks' time. And so we always need to keep those things in mind. If we have a plant that's not looking good, because of a nutrient deficiency or because of an insect or a disease, it didn't look bad or turn this way overnight or even in a couple weeks' time. So that's why it's so critical to keep your eye on your plants, especially if it's an insect or a disease. A nutrient deficiency can be turned around and it's not as detrimental, but if you have an insect or a disease, in a 2 or 3 weeks' time, it can take over the plant. That's why be aware of your landscape and walk through it. Don't be so busy that you don't walk through your landscape once or twice a week, just to take a look and make sure that there's no insects, no diseases. This is crucial for your vegetable garden if you're growing a vegetable garden. But in her case, her Pachysandra was just nutrient deficient, but she thought that the Hollytone that she was putting down on it was going to green it back up, in this very, very quick amount of time. That's not going to happen. Even if you're using a chemical fertilizer, it's not going to turn it back around that quickly. Hollytone and Ironite, both very good products and can be used in conjunction with one another to darken up and green up those plants that have gotten that washed out light lime green yellow look to them. And we do sell the Hollytone in small bags and in large bags. So if you have an area that's, huge all the way around your house with Pachysandra so that you don't have to mulch, we do sell that Hollytone in 50-pound bags. And, it's much more economical if you're going to need a lot of it to buy it in the larger bag, even though it can be hard for some people to handle a 50-pound bag. We're going to put it in your car for you when you're at the greenhouse, but when you get home, you have to deal with that yourself. So sometimes it might be easier to deal with the 18-pound bag. But that Hollytone and the Ironite is going to help green up, not just your Pachysandra. If you have other evergreens that are light in color, if you have a lawn that's light in color, Ironite is going to be a great way to darken it up for you. So find out what, bring in your plant. Let us know what plant it is that's showing those light colors. Most of the time the Ironite's going to work, but you might need a fertilizer that's going to acidify the soil. The Ironite is going to add iron to the soil, which has helped the plant green up, but it might need more. And like in this case, it also needs an acidic soil, so it needed the Hollytone to acidify that soil some. And that's going to make the plant do much better as well. We've talked about this in the past as well. Remember, just because you don't want a plant to grow too fast because you don't want to have to prune it too often, doesn't mean you shouldn't feed it. It's just like you. You need to eat a healthy diet. Your plants need to eat a healthy diet to stay healthy. If not, they're going to be attacked by every insect and disease that comes along. And make sure that you're feeding them at least once a year in the fall. It's going to be best for your plant to stay the healthiest if you fertilize in the spring and in the fall. And it's going to make it grow maybe a little faster, but not a lot, but it's going to keep it healthy. So trimming it is healthy for it also. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. The only plants that you really need to fertilize more than twice a year, and we're talking shrubs now, are maybe some of your hydrangeas or even the lilac that is repeat or ever blooming. They're going to pull a few more nutrients from the soil, so it's a good idea to go ahead and give them an additional fertilization throughout the season. In the spring and in the fall, and maybe a midsummer fertilization. That's going to keep those ever-blooming plants a little bit stronger. Your endless summer hydrangeas are one. The ever-bearing lilac, your knockout roses, those ones are all going to need that fertilization. Rose tone for the roses, holly tone for your hydrangeas, and even spirea that repeat bloom, and plant tone for your lilac, and that's going to keep all of those blooming well. And anytime you want to throw on an additional fertilization to help that bloom be stronger, flower tone is the way to go on that one as well, and that's going to keep everything beautiful for you. The next question that we had was about seed starting, and they wanted to know, they have these planters, nice big planters, and they wanted to start their seeds directly in the planter, again, so that they wouldn't have to do the extra step. A lot of people like to do this kind of thing, and I hate to say that that's just being lazy, but that's just being lazy. You need to start your seeds in a small cell pack. We have plug trays that we sell, but if you're using a 6-pack of a flat, that's going to be small enough in most cases, unless you're starting very, very, very small seeds. A 6-pack is going to be fine as an insert when you're starting those seeds. But you want to start them in something small. Let them root in there before you transplant them into a larger pot. The plant is going to do much better. You need to have that nice strong root system in a small before it can be moved up to a larger pot and do well. So you want to make sure that you always do that. Now, if you have questions like these folks has had and you would like us to answer them, of course you can come and visit me and bring a piece of your plant or bring your question to me, photos, things like that, at the store at 5828 Columbus Road. That's in Nimishillen Township. We have a Louisville address. Or you can email me, Cindy Petitti at gmail.com. That's CindyPetti at gmail.com. Or you can always call us at 330-455-5997. Now, sometimes when people is explaining a problem over the phone, it's hard for us to detect everything. So bringing a piece of the plant in to the store or emailing us a picture or bringing us a picture in sometimes makes it a little bit easier for us to diagnose and recommend what needs to be done to the plant. Sometimes the questions can be answered over the phone, so feel free to give us a call. We would love to help you out with that. All of the mulch is in, so if you are got your beds all cleaned up and you have everything edged and weeded and you want to get some mulch down, I usually don't bring mulch in until the end of April. We got it in, I believe, on Thursday of this past week. And so the mulch is all in. If you're all ready to mulch, you can come on over. We can load you up with bulk mulch in your pickup trucks. We also do offer delivery service if you need that mulch delivered to you. We only carry black and dark brown. The dark brown is all natural, no artificial dyes. The black does have an artificial dye in it. So if you're an organic gardener and you plant your edibles in your landscape, I do recommend that the dark brown is what you use. But if you have a gray house or a white house with black trim, black does look very good. I just probably wouldn't put my edibles in my landscape beds if that was the case. We do not carry red. But I know that there are some other local independent garden centers that do carry red mulch. We're going to jump back in and get the rest of these questions answered for you. The next question that we have was about watering houseplants. And a lot of people keep houseplants year-round. It's great for your air, cleans the air in your home. Some people take their houseplants outside during the summer and bring them in for the winter. When you're doing that, you do need to make sure that you adjust that plant to the outside so it doesn't get a sunburn. So take it outside for a couple hours on a cloudy day. or in the morning so it doesn't get too much sun. Bring it back in, take it back out maybe for an hour or so late in the day. Or if it's a cloudy day like we have had the past couple days, you can leave it outside all day long. But you want to make sure that it's a cloudy day that first time you leave it out all day, or you break it in a couple hour increments so that it doesn't get sunburned. When you're watering, I always recommend that if you water with water that is not been softened. So don't take spigot water from your house. Also, if you live in the city and you say, well, I don't have a water softener, I have city water, that water is softened as well. Just not the same way that you soften it in the country. And there's a lot of added things that your plants really don't like in city water, like chlorine. It does not like that at all. So I would recommend catching rainwater, or if you have a well, your outside spigot usually bypasses your water softener. So you want to get the water from there. Your house plants are going to do much better. Or also if you bring herbs in the wintertime, or if you have, like me, I have a pot of basil sitting on my windowsill in my kitchen year round. And so I don't, it's so easy to think about, I'll just stick it under the spigot here. But you have to remember that is softened water or city water, and you don't want to do that. So make sure that you have some rainwater or some water that has bypassed your water softener to water those houseplants or those herbs with, so that you don't have that issue. Last question that we had was about fertilizing crops with different fertilizers. And we have people coming in all the time asking, well, I'm growing tomatoes. Can I use an all-purpose fertilizer? You can use an all-purpose fertilizer if you are growing a multitude of crops. But if you grow mostly tomatoes, then go with Tomato Tone or Tomato Blast. That's going to be the ideal fertilizer. It's going to have all the minor nutrients that specific plant needs. That's why acidic-loving plants like your hollies and your rhododendrons and azaleas and hydrangeas really like Holly Tone, and your roses like Rose Tone, because they have minor nutrients that they like specifically, and those fertilizers has been made for those specific plants. So it's going to be easier or better for the plant if you do that. Now, the easier route is to give everything an all-purpose fertilizer. And if you are growing a vegetable garden, for instance, and you grow potatoes and you grow tomatoes and you grow peppers and cucumbers and zucchini, you can use an all-purpose. There's going to be some crops it's going to do a little bit better if you add a few additional things. So it is important that you use some plants like specific fertilizers. Like all of your viners and your tomatoes need additional calcium. So if you're using an all-purpose like Garden Tone for the whole garden, you might want to add an additional amount of calcium to those calcium-loving, needy plants so that they do a little bit better for you. And you won't have the issues of, blossom end rot on all of those things where you don't get a nice harvest. It's so discouraging to work really hard on your garden, start all the seeds or even buy seedlings and plant them all and keep the garden weeded. And the weeding is the biggest. You keep that garden weeded. It's a lot of work. And you don't have a harvest because they didn't have the right nutrients. So it's very important that you do that. But we can always help you when you come in and pick out the plants that you're wanting for your garden. And like I said, this isn't just your vegetables. This is for everything in your garden. Flower gardens, landscape gardens as well. But we can help you get those right nutrients that you need. And remember, always good compost is going to have a lot of those in there. So if you do it all purpose, using a compost is going to help you do better. Also remember, calcium feeders can get their calcium from other things besides fertilizers. So you can, if you have hundreds and hundreds of eggshells, yes, you can do that, but it's going to take a lot of those to get the calcium back into the soil and broke down so that it's readily available to the plant. But you can do certain things. Remember, composting is very important. We are to the end of a show again, and we want to thank all of you for listening. Remember, you can call me at 330-455-5997 with all of your questions that you have about gardening. We really encourage you to stop out and bring us your questions. And also you can, see what we have out there at the Garden Center. If you've never been out, please come out and check us out. We are different than every other garden center in probably anywhere. There's not a lot of garden centers that have a little farm that's an available farm to visit right when you visit the garden center and the greenhouse. So come on over to 5828 Columbus Road and visit us right in rural area of Nimishillen Township. We want to thank all of you for listening. Join us next week right here on 95.9 The Light, WNPQ. We'll see you next Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and you all have a blessed week.